What are vaccines? What do they do in our body? And how do they help us gain immunity? Those are the questions that we'll answer in this episode of Scishot. Let's talk about what happens when a pathogen, such as a virus or bacteria, enters your body for the first time and causes a primary immune response. If the pathogen breaches all of our defense systems, it will have to fight our adaptive immune system as the last line of defense. During our first encounter with a pathogen, out of the millions of our adaptive immune cells, there are only a few of them that can fight that specific pathogen. Once our body finds those few immune cells, it will need to continuously copy them in order to raise an army and fight off the pathogen. As a result of the primary immune response, you will generate antibodies and memory immune cells that will be able to fight the pathogen much faster compared to the first encounter. This is known as a secondary immune response. Now, this might sound like a happy ending story where your body is always the winner when first encountered by a pathogen, but that is not always the case. Imagine you have one key and thousands of doors to try, knowing that only a handful of the doors will be unlocked. That is what your body has to go through to find a few immune cells out of millions that can fight a specific pathogen. And even when it finds them, it has to copy them in order to raise an army. This whole process can sometimes take even more than a week, and meanwhile the pathogen is feeding on your resources. What is clear is that your chances of survival during the time will be pretty low when dealing with a dangerous and deadly pathogen such as poliovirus or tuberculosis. And that is where vaccines come to help us. My friend Puriya will now explain this to us.
Thank you, Parsa. Vaccines give your body either part of the pathogen or a weakened version of it before you encounter the original pathogen. It is again going to take a long time for your body to find the few immune cells that can fight the weaker pathogen and then copy those immune cells in order to raise an army. But this time, since it's a weaker version of the pathogen, your body will be in much less danger than encountering the original pathogen itself. Essentially, the vaccine helps you to safely go through the time it takes to develop a primary immune response. Consequently, if you happen to encounter the deadly pathogen itself, you will already have antibodies and memory immune cells that can quickly defeat the pathogen. In other words, you will go through a safer secondary immune response instead of a risky primary one. According to WHO, measles vaccination resulted in a 73% drop in measles deaths between 2000 and 2018. Furthermore, thanks to vaccination, the number of children paralyzed by polio has been reduced by 99.9% worldwide over the past 3 decades. Vaccines are indeed one of the most life-saving inventions made by humans, but their success is highly dependent on global participation. And that is why, here at Scishot, we encourage everyone to play their part in ending COVID-19 pandemic and get vaccinated as soon as possible if you're medically able to. Thank you and stay tuned for another episode of Scishot.